Now is 12:30, and once again, it is Monday, so that means it's time for In the Crosshairs with JD and Clay from the gunsandthe701.com. How you guys doing this week?
Great.
Doing good. How about yourself, Jay?
Well, fantastic. Had a great weekend, and boy, that rain, you got to love that rain, right, Clay? Helping you out with maybe another cut of hay?
Well, we got it over an inch. I made a little second cutting. It's still, everything was a little late here. But my question is, how you feeling? Because I know you were a little under the weather.
Yeah, I feel a whole lot better. Last week, in fact, our whole family was a little under the weather. My daughters were both sick, and they kind of gave it to me. So, but overall, yeah, so good. So far, so good this week. We got a bunch of good topics want to get to, and let's jump right into it. Native American Fish and Wildlife Society is the newest recruit to NRA's online hunter education course. JD, you want to give us some details on this?
Yeah. So, like you said, the Native American Fish and Wildlife NRA. I didn't even know this, Jay, that the NRA did this. And it's in 13 states. You can get your hunter education via online courses. And the NRA, I was talking to the North American Fish and Wildlife Society here and the tribes, and they got it going. And so they can do this on the reservations, instead of going through their game. Like Clay and I were talking beforehand here. I'm not sure if they do it. Clay said he tried to get a hold of Standing Rock and ask them, but this program's been around since 2017. It's nearly 150,000 students already online have been instructed on this. Of course, safety and wildlife conservation and gun safety and things like that. Jay, it's part of 13 states: North Dakota, South Dakota. Not one of them like a state agency, not just the tribes, right?
Right.
I guess they got the www.tribeshe.org. I think that's shooting, hunting, education, right? Clayton, is that stands
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, and first time they used this was 2017 in Florida. They were the first one to adopt it, and I don't know why North Dakota doesn't do it, or for that matter, Jay, I don't know why, the Game and Fish here wouldn't do it, because we're always short on people teaching the class. They tell you that, and here you can do it online with through the NRA, and it doesn't cost anything. Jay, that's a great thing about it. There's no fees, no fee whatsoever. It's done for free, and I think it's a great thing to do. Getting involved in the tribes here to teach them some hunter education. That's a long way to go. If you got to come up here from, I don't even know if they teach that down like the Game and Fish down on Standing Rock, but I mean, if you had to drive up here every night of the week, it's kind of a pain to do it here, right? So I think this should be statewide, just not on the tribes. I mean, if they do it on Sioux County or down in the Sioux reservation down there. Jay, I can't remember which one you're from. I'm not sure if they do it either. You said you're a tribal member.
Yeah, tribal member up in Turtle Mountains, and I went to Rolla and did mine there all those years ago. We're looking at 40 years ago already, JD. Holy cow.
Yeah, man. Speaking of that real quick, Jay, I talked to some guys who played football with Jay. He's a stud D-back is what I hear.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You bet.
I can give you a little information on these hunting safety courses. I know that Standing Rock was working with their game wardens, because my oldest son took his there. We went down to Little Eagle actually at the school and had it. But they were doing the South Dakota one. So South Dakota was allowing them to do that, and they had a cooperation there. But this is a great program. As you know, we were working on this already back in 2014 and 15 within the NRA. Secured the funding actually through the Friends of NRA programs, and we've mentioned that many times here. And it's just another great thing of what the NRA Foundation and Friends of NRA was funding, and it's completely free to anybody who uses it. Now, I can tell you in my talks with North and South Dakota, it wasn't good. North Dakota, Game and Fish, pretty much, they evidently hate the NRA. I even got told that in the range grant programs that they didn't want nothing to do with our programs. I was like, wow, but yet they're supposedly supposed to be these open and transparent organizations. South Dakota was more open to it. They weren't sure where they were going to go with it. Of course, I retired in 16, so I can't tell you what the negotiations were after that. I believe this is a great program. Can you imagine having that opportunity to hop online anytime you want? And we know how kids are, to go ahead and take that course and then go take the hands-on training from an actual instructor. And it'd be a lot like what North Dakota has right now with the DOT with driver's license. Went through that with both my boys. They went online. They took the online driving written test. And the youngest has got to drive for a year. The oldest has to drive for 6 months. and then they go take their hands-on driving course. I mean, this is a no-brainer to me, and it's going to be a lot cheaper and a lot more accessible. And like you said, they don't have instructors. I keep telling us they don't have instructors.
Yeah,
in
they're always
Mexico.
I mean, I tried to get my daughter in one, and I couldn't get her in there. Well, we just don't have any instructors. They got plenty of them on here. And it's
Yep.
just going a little further into this. You get 15 chapters. You got videos, graphics, diagrams, interactive modules, audio. All kinds of photos going on here. And it started in 1949. I guess New York mandated. They wanted to mandate that people took hunter safety classes. And they said, hey, the best thing we can do is go through the NRA, and started. It's weird. You think of it, really, it started in New York, really, and the New York actually talked to the NRA instead
you
of
gotta
trying to
love
sue
it.
them out of business.
The New York officials at that time said, well, we need to go solicit help from the one organization that knew the most about firearms and firearm safety. Kind of a no-brainer there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, that would never happen now. And Clay, what I got a kick out of, we were talking before, they called it, when you were done, you got your NRA Hunter Safety Handbook, and you were issued a hunter education card that read NRA Hunter Safety. And now, I got my hunter safety card from North Dakota. I mean, it's like they took it from the NRA, but they sure as heck don't want their help. No, I don't. That boggles my mind.
And like you said, it's not just North and South Dakota. There's a lot of states that are not part of this program yet. I always figured Wyoming would be pretty easy because they're so pro NRA and pro Second Amendment. But yeah, and we worked hard, guys. This was actually about a 3 to 4 year development of the program. Like I said, when I was still there, and I couldn't see any issues with it. You cannot believe the pushback we got from some of these states, especially the ones that charge a lot. The whole big thing was, oh, we're going to lose money, and the people who are doing it for a living as an instructor. Well, you know what? To me, on something like this, being the state requires it, I don't know if that's something you need to force people to pay for. If you got a program out there that's going to supply that, especially a private organization, let them do it.
Well,
Clay, I've got a question.
Go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say I got a couple questions. One, so are you saying the state is not allowing it for these tribes on federal land to say, hey, if we want to, we can do it ourselves, and then it'd be fully accredited to hunter safety, or how does that work?
No, basically the tribe can do their own thing. I think what the cooperative effort was between Standing Rock, from what I understand, and South Dakota at that time, they were actually doing the South Dakota hunter safety. Now, you know that North and South Dakota kids could take either one, and it's going to be recognized no matter what. And I think they were just the first ones that stepped up. And, I got no confirmation, but talking to the instructors that were doing it, said that North Dakota was hesitant on even doing that. Allowing the tribal game wardens, which, come on, they're federal agents. They actually got more training than the game wardens probably, or the instructors. So I didn't see a problem with it. And to me, it opened up a whole new accessibility within the reservation down here in Sioux County. Like I said, my boys, they went and took it, and they did a great job. And you didn't have to travel hundreds of miles. So, yeah, the tribe actually, they reached out to the state in South Dakota and made it happen. And what a great joint effort, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I'm looking here too, Clay and Jay. One of the things I think that might bother some of these states, it doesn't bother me, but part of their program would be the state recruitment efforts, and then the NRA's called R3, Recruitment, Retention, and Reactivation Movement. You're going to try and keep them recruiting kids into hunting, but you know what they're thinking? They're going to recruit people under this radical NRA. Which I'm sure some states have a problem. Clay, I'll bet you there's people that think that our Game and Fish Department actually, but which they shouldn't. I mean, we did, when I met Clay, it was friends at NRA, and there wasn't big posters in there talking about political stuff or anything. It was all about, anyways, to go down that rabbit hole. But Clay, so they also match, they set a price, right? Explain this, how they do with the Pittman Robertson.
Yeah, basically Pittman Robinson, of course, that was passed in 1934, 1937, somewhere in there. Was the only time in history when people actually got together and said, we'd like to have a tax. So there's an excise tax on basically anything related to hunting, fishing, shooting, whatever it might be. And that's called the Pittman Robinson money. And yeah, they can apply to Game and Fish, gets a certain amount of that anyway in each state, whatever is raised within their states. And then they can apply that also from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife's part to this kind of thing. It's meant for conservation, range development, and hunter's ed. I mean, that was the purpose of that tax. So it's a great use of it, and it shouldn't be an issue to get the money. They finally got it approved. Get this, 2019, didn't get it done. Wasn't allowed to be used as far as the U.S. Fish and Wildlife stuff till 2019 to give that matching money. But now it's done. It's taken care of, and I just
thought the NRA was broke, though. Everybody says.
Oh yeah.
5 to 6 million members strong.
Yeah. And you can get a lot of this information at nrahe.org, which is hunter education, and they got an array of things right there if anyone wants to ever check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you brought up a point a moment ago concerning. Okay, concerning taxes that anti-Second Amendment Dems now are pushing. If this, Clay, wasn't such a serious subject, you'd think it was a joke. A 1,000% tax on guns.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't the first time this has come up. Of course, it came up in 2022 as well, but this has actually been going on for about 10 years. We were fighting it when I was an NRA rep. They tried some different methods. They tried to bring it in under state legislatures. That didn't work. They tried to put it to the vote of the people. That never was successful anywhere it was tried. And now they're going through Congress, of course. Just to give you an example, 1,000% excise tax on a $500 gun would equate to $5,000 tax. And then, of course, the total would be plus the gun, $5,500 for a simple bolt action rifle, really. Because I guarantee you they're not going to stop at semi-autos, or just it doesn't even define it when you see some of the language. But I can tell you from the 2022 bill, it would have included things like Ruger 1022s, the Smith & Wesson M&P 22, which is built kind of like an AR platform. But a $2,000 gun, oh, I love mine too. $20,000 tax for a grand total of $22K, $22,000, guys, for a firearm. And basically, this guy admits it that introduced this. He said, Representative Don Beyer, that this is the exact result they want. They want to make it harder to purchase a firearm, and if you want one, you better be able to afford it. And their idea is it's a de facto gun ban without being a ban, and they can implement it anywhere. And they never say where the money's going to go. I went and looked at the 2022 bill. It said nowhere about how they were going to spend this supposed tax. So what, general fund, more dumb programs? I don't know. It's going to be found unconstitutional if it ever passed. I don't see it passing in the House, but you never know. Strange things happen.
Yeah, because the last time when it was in there, like you said, they had more support for it then on what's this guy's name, Beyer. On his side, they have more people on his side in there on board, and it still didn't make it. If somebody thinks this is a good idea, just think about them putting a big tax on your other constitutional rights. It's your civil rights.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous. But
they almost try to make you buy a license and pay a fee, like in Mandan, if you want to have a gathering. We went through that, so they're already doing the First Amendment.
yeah. Well, yeah, you got to do it when you go to the Capitol, and then free speech zones everywhere. But yeah, this is. And if it doesn't come through now, I bet you again in 2 years they're going to try this thing again. And I appreciate them giving us stuff to talk about and bring up. And
JD.
Yeah.
Would this lead to possibly more guns sold, I guess, undercover or in the cloak of darkness somewhere? You know what I mean?
Oh, I'll bet you private sales, which do not need us, and would go sky high, and you could ask more, not a ridiculous amount like this, but you definitely would get more for them. I mean, I like buying them like that anyways because I don't like taking background checks. I'm perfectly legal by their law to buy them, but I just assume not having somebody know. But yeah, I got a few I would even probably sell like for that. Somebody'd offer me some money. It sounds good to me. I got plenty. I'm not going to run myself. But
if I look behind Clay there, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got a lot of money back there, Clay. Let's head to Vegas, buddy.
There we go. Roll them dice.
Yeah, he does, Jay.
That's just a small sample.
Yeah, that definitely would do that. I mean, like Clay said, if it go, even with the Supreme Court, even if it wasn't even in a favor of gun rights like it is now, I think it would. I don't even know it had passed in the Supreme. Maybe it's some state courts it would, but not,
right.
Not here, not in the Supreme.
we're already seeing assault weapons bans and ammo bans and taxes being implemented in states like, or even being attempted in
Yeah.
states like New York, California, Illinois, and they're going to court. They're working their way through the systems now, and some of them are being dropped because they know if it gets to the federal appellates, it's going to enter that and then head right to the Supreme Court. Which New York versus Bruin, how many times have we talked about how that was such a monumental decision, as big as Roe versus Wade was back in the 70s. That's what this did for the Second Amendment, only to our favor, and really actually is enshrined in the Constitution. So everything bases on Bruin now. It really does.
Yeah, because he wants it on magazines too, not just
Everything.
semi-automatic. Yeah, like, and so Clay back in the 18 or 1770s, did they have a special high tax on them rifle barrels they were making? They're more
No.
accurate.
No.
Because that's
way to
the
tell,
British hated them. I mean, they wrote about I can't remember the name they
Yes.
had from the deviled rifle barrels or something because they were more accurate than the smooth bores. But yeah, this is just he loves it. He loves it. I guarantee you. I bet you Joe Biden would love it too. He'd think it's a great
Oh
idea.
yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe he knows it. I don't know. If
It's like I always said, Jamie, if they ever outlaw guns, you're looking at the biggest gun runner in this area.
Get a fast pickup play.
Well, let's talk about something that there's plenty of down in Wyoming. Now, I guess they got an issue where there are too many elk in that state, at least in the northeastern portion of it. And Wyoming lawmakers, ranchers, hunters, there, even game and fish, they don't know how to handle the problem. JD, I got one solution. We hire you out, go down there and thin out the herd for them.
I'm in, Jay. I'm in. I love shooting. Yeah, like you said, eastern and northeastern Wyoming, and we've done a few stories here with you about how the winter had killed off the deer and antelope herd, which they say in here did. It didn't. They didn't drop the elk tags at all here, and that's one of their solutions is, I'm on board with what you just said, Jay. But these guys want to do like federal. I always like that they bring in like these federal. We're bringing the sharpshooters and the government agents and I guarantee you these guys can't shoot. Most of them can't shoot any better than me and Clay. And I don't consider myself a sniper, but I'm a better shot than the average bear. But we don't need to bring in sharpshooters to do this. We proved that in the Badlands, and we just had people putting in for tags there to reduce the elk herd. And a buddy of mine, his brother-in-law was actually one of the guys that worked for Game and Fish helping out. And I asked him one time about, how these guys shoot. And he said, we didn't have any problem at all how people shoot. They gave him actually a shooting test. You remember that, Clay? He had to hit a 10-inch plate at 200 yards, I think, which I mean, I can do that with a spear. So
you can do that with a crossbow.
Yeah, my crossbow. Yeah, shooting crossbow. But yeah, and then they go on to say another thing, Jim Magagna, I think this guy's name is. He's the vice president of the Wyoming Stock Growers Association. He's for this other proposal they're doing, which I would be too, but he doesn't think it would reduce the herd, which I definitely agree with. Is they want to let landowners give like their gratis tags to whoever they want. Which sure, it's going to make more people come and shoot them. Probably, I don't know how many, because most landowners I know got a gratis. But then there's somebody against that saying, "Oh, this could turn into fee hunting." Which is what Game and Fish told me, Jay, when I wanted to use my grandmother's gratis tag years ago. And they said, well, you can't do that because then people are going to charge exorbitant amounts for their gratis tags, which I'm like, what's one tag? Why would you care if my grandma sold her gratis tag? She's 80 years old and wanted to sell it for $10,000, which she never would have done. But yeah, why would you care if they did that? That's not going to make more people really hunt, but it's going to the person who owns the land to make more money. And the guy who was against it is Bud Heddick of Laramie, which Clay, this name was familiar in my head for a reason, of Wyoming chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. Isn't that the people who are against baiting here in North Dakota?
Yeah, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, it's kind of a misconception for a name. They are trust me, they're not on our side. They don't back Second Amendment issues. They actually came to North Dakota in 2019 and gave testimony against the private property rights bill. Again, they turned it into a hunting bill, saying that if we actually close down, like it should be, all private property, you need to have permission from the owner, whether there's a sign or not. that would just kill hunting, and that we had no. They even said that we had no right to expect that as property owners. Can you believe that? So they have complete disdain for private property ownership. They're against fee hunting, and I always looked at it like this: I don't fee hunt personally, okay, but those that own land and want to, they should be allowed to. And I just these guys, and when they came and they testified against the CWD bill, they're really, really big proponents of CWD tyranny. They love the idea that they can restrict it and have complete and total control.
They're probably big fans of that $1,000 tax on ARs.
Who knows? They probably are, because I can tell you this: they have in the past supported in some states the quote assault weapons ban with the same rhetoric, saying, well, we don't really need that. That's not about the Bill of Needs; it's the Bill of Rights. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah. So
these guys,
they were talking, they went into the whole thing about feeding them too. And if you remember that, people were mad that they didn't feed the deer and the antelope. Remember we said that because their digestive systems are different, but they did feed the elk. And I mean, an elk gets in your hay fence, they're going to eat way more than a deer. I mean, if anybody's seen the size difference on these. But yeah, the one thing with the tags, they were actually trying to get more people to hunt on private property, because that's where they're saying a bunch of these elk are.
That's where they're at.
Yeah. And so here's what I would say: instead of doing that, why don't you issue tags for what they think are over the population, and then Wyoming Game and Fish contact these private landers, say, would you be willing to let people come on your land to shoot 3 cows or whatever? I don't have a problem with that. I think that if they want to do that and give out more tags, and they want to make a pool of letting people come on and blast them, I'm for that.
They could actually set that up like Montana has, which is that block system where people could sign up and who's on your property, what's going to be happening there.
Yep.
The thing is, I'm going to address, they're worried about the fee hunting thing. Well, I don't know how many tags a landowner can get in Wyoming. I mean, you can have one per 160 plus acres. I don't know if you can have more than that. We basically get one right here in North Dakota.
Yeah, no matter if you got 10,000 or 160.
And okay, so let's say that they do the transfer, you can transfer it, and they say, well, you can't sell the tag. Well, then I guess let them charge an access fee or a trespass fee. John Arman and us just talked about that here a couple weeks ago on the show. And I don't think it's going to help, or it's going to help hunting in general. The areas these people come in to hunt with, especially if there's more private land access, that's going to dump money into the communities for hotel rooms and lodging and groceries, fuel, eating. I mean, just think about the money that gets dropped into a community during hunting season. So, I guess I think they're barking up the wrong tree on this. And I can tell you right now, the elk, I've been out in those areas, Laramie, Cheyenne, all over that area. The elk are on the private land for a reason. There's no pressure on them. That's part of it. They come down on those green alfalfa fields, which, a year like last year, you probably didn't have that so much. This year, they're greening up again. It's all irrigated into those bottoms. And that's where the elk are. And they do fee hunting. So as far as that goes, you're not stopping fee hunting or changing it. You're just going to probably have some help from a landowner who now maybe has an extra tag or two, and he'll go ahead and sell it and get somebody out there to help manage the herd. I mean, to me, the whole fee hunting thing don't make sense to me.
They said last year this rancher, Juan Reyes, had a professional outfitter and his assistant. They come onto his land and they killed 129 elk in the Iron Mountain herd. This guy must have a lot of land to kill 129 elk. But and then they took the meat and of course they donated it to like a food. It's called Jenny Gordon's, the governor's wife actually. Food to field program for Wyoming Hunger Initiative, which is great. Most people like elk meat. I'm going to tell you, Jay and Clay, I can't stand elk meat.
Really?
No. Oh my! I've had it many different ways, and you got to try mine. I don't know. There's something in there that doesn't sit well with me. So
it's not for everybody.
I never put in to hunt elk. I never hunted to put moose or sheep. And I don't want to eat any of those.
Not even the roasts or anything like that, huh?
Nope. I tell you what, the best way I've had it, a guy pressure can. Somebody he brought it to work, and I thought that was pretty good. But there's still something that just gets in my throat, and I just. I even tried to wrap it in bacon, man. It didn't work.
It didn't work either. Well, don't feel bad. I feel the same way about geese. It's tough for me.
I'm with you on that too.
Best way to eat a goose: grind it up and put it into jerky and smoke it. Then it ain't too bad. It's tolerable.
Then have about a 6-pack of Pounders and get yourself real hungry.
There you go.
Or drink the Pounders after you eat it to wash that taste out of your mouth. Real quick, let's get this last one. The head of a group involved in New York City's Blueprint to End Gun Violence was recently arrested for a gun and narcotics charge. Clay, is this a do as I say, not as I do moment?
Kind of looks like it, don't? I mean, Bronx Rises Against Gun Violence. They're big into basically the whole gun violence thing. They worked with Bloomberg. They worked with a lot of actually.
They're on board with $1,000 tax.
Yeah, Michael Rodriguez. He is the actual guy that's been accused of leading a narcotic trafficking ring that sold cocaine laced with fentanyl, and it happened up there in Orange County communities. I mean, can you believe the head of the group who's advocating for you and me to be restricted on firearms and get rid of them and have all these utopian restrictions on the Second Amendment? He's out there selling drugs. Not only that, he had 2 illegal guns in his residence when they raided.
The guns were illegal. He was in illegal possession, Clay.
He was in illegal possession.
With how much cocaine?
1.5 kilos of cocaine and $165,000 in cash, which they always put that in there, but I don't really take much heed in that.
Yeah,
he's 48 years old. He was questioned before it on July 22nd, and then they had this investigation, and it was called Operation Hide in Plain Sight. That's kind of funny. That's kind of just the terminology there.
Yeah.
And so this is the guy that's supposed to be stopping, quote, gun violence, and he's out there participating in the problem he's trying to solve.
Good buddies with Mayor Eric Adams there in New York City, who's a huge gun control lover. So, and I like this comment here by Bronx District Attorney Darcy Clark. The allegations of drug trafficking and gun possession against Michael Rodriguez are shocking and disturbing, especially since he attended an anti-violence event and peace marches portraying himself as someone who cares about stopping the violence. So just because you go through their classes doesn't mean anything's going to happen. You're going to change your mind on anything. Still going to want to do illegal stuff and snort cocaine like Tony and
Tony Montana.
They had a 2-year investigation that was centered around Angelica Rodriguez. Now, it doesn't say whether she's related to him. They got the same last name, doesn't mean anything. But she's a drug dealer in Middletown for more than 2 decades. And after months of wiretaps, and that led to the alleged supplier, which led to Mr. Rodriguez. How about that? So this wasn't a small undertaking. They actually went after and found this stuff. Bragg, as they call themselves, Bronx Rises Against Gun Violence, they give a statement that says the investigation and the charges we've been made aware of. While we work to learn more, our primary focus remains on communities that we serve and the programs that are helping to keep them safe. That was their deal.
Yep. It's working good for one of their leaders.
Working real good, ain't it?
It is. Well, gentlemen, we are coming up on it once again. Another great week. But before we let you go, of course, you've got the Wednesday live show. Gunsandthe701.com is where you can find it. Tell us some of the topics you're working on Wednesday night.
Well, I know one of them we're going to be discussing our poll for sure on that. I imagine we may, I don't know, Jamie, I haven't talked to you much about it this weekend, but I kind of want to bring back this 1,000% tax and just kind of let the Wednesday night viewership know as well.
Yeah. Well, we had that too on Todd's show on Friday there, Clay. Todd wasn't in, but there's a more insidious gun group than the NRA we talked about a little bit, and Clay and I, we're going to break that down a little more. And of course, we always have our two-way bullet points. Clay has a couple, I have a couple. It's something we don't tell each other we're going to bring up. And I think, Clay, this week you're going to have Clay's Commie Company. And happy ending, of course, the happy ending. Yep, and then Friday again, they can catch us every Friday at 7:40 a.m. Mountain, 8:40 a.m. Central Time. I'm Mitchell in the morning on KFYR Radio, and catch that on iHeart as well.
All right, and don't forget the show Wednesday night. That's 6 Mountain, 7 Central.
Yes, sir. Facebook,
and go,
YouTube.
Go check out our brand new website with an actual patriotic hosting platform.
You can actually buy stuff off there now too.
Yep, we got our store going. But yeah, www.gunsandthe701.com. Live feed there. We got our store. Completely redesigned website. I think everybody will love it. And we're not supporting commie companies.
There you go. Well, gentlemen, as always, it has been a great week with you here, spending 30 minutes here in the Crosshairs with JD and Clay. Catch them at gunsandthe701.com and here each and every Monday at 12:30. It's been a pleasure, guys. We'll catch up with you again next week, okay?
See you, Jim. We get some prairie dogs taken care of for you here.
I love it.
Powder dry all week, everyone.
There you go. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. It is now 1 o'clock. We'll